If you want to create predictable revenue, you need to build systematic processes. The biggest issue with sales teams is that their revenue is completely unpredictable. They don't know how much revenue will be here next month and the month after that and the month after that. Now, if you have a membership or continuity program of some type, you might have that, but I'm talking about new sales. You can actually predict revenue before it happens. You're going to be managing a process way out here to know what is going to close. And you're not surprised by the fact that, oh, we had a great month in sales or we had a down month in sales. When you rely on talent, it's always a surprise. It's like, oh, they come and go, and sometimes we get big hits. But when you have a marketing machine and a marketing system and a sales machine and a sales system and all these processes, and you're tracking everything, you will know, and you will be able to predict what is going to happen. And that is a place where you can now scale a business, because you can make wise investment decisions. If I know with a fair amount of certainty that this much revenue is coming in the future, then I can make certain expenses today to say, let's ramp up the staff, let's ramp up the branding, let's ramp up the video editing, let's ramp up the whatever. Because I have a fair amount of certainty that there's stability in my sales pipeline. But if I don't, then it's always like, ooh, I have to wait and see what happens. And so you can't plan and you can't get ahead, and you're always in this reactive mode. And so you end up typically just staying stuck there. And it is kind of like, the running on the treadmill type of a thing, where you continue to just, be trapped doing everything yourself, because you're not able to take calculated risk. You're not able to plan ahead and invest into the future. So that is the issue, right? Is this unpredictable revenue. The root cause of that issue is not changing market conditions. We often think it's, oh, well, I'm not selling because of, I lost this great person, or because of my competitor, or because of something outside of our control happened. The root cause of unpredictable revenue is inconsistent methodology across the sales team. Everybody's doing it differently at different times in different ways. And they're doing different amounts of different things in different ways. And you're not tracking it. And so we don't know. Their activity is inconsistent. Their method is inconsistent. And all of this inconsistency ends up showing up as unpredictability. So I want to introduce you to our first real framework from this event. So we call this the Sales Performance Prediction Matrix. The idea that most entrepreneurs have is, I just need to find great salespeople. Like, that's what they think. Oh, I need to find a great salesperson. Like, if I find a great salesperson, that'll solve my problem. And then they'll hire some people. And if they don't sell, they kind of assume, oh, it wasn't a great salesperson, and that's why we didn't sell. And so again, they're vulnerable to this idea of it's like they're playing the lottery. They're trying to get lucky. They're working on hope, kind of a blind faith that, gosh, hopefully I'll find someone and figure this out. Well, in reality, this is actually more how we see it. If you have average people and you have average processes, of course, you're going to have poor performance, right? So, let's say if it was poor processes, the worse the processes are and the worse the people are, the worse the performance is going to be. That is always going to be true. But the part that is surprising is that if you have above average people and average processes, you still get low performance. Now, you might get above average performance out of a person, but the team will still have low performance. It will still have inconsistency. It will still be unpredictable. You still won't have confidence and certainty and trust, because it's dependent on this person. And then again, to what we were talking about, where Jess said, well, gosh, I'm not the world's greatest salesperson, but I'm pretty good at processes. Well, here is what we believe and what we have seen in our experience, in our research, is that if you have average people, but above average processes, you actually can get high performance because you have consistency, you have predictability, you have universal adoption, you have a machine, right? Even though it's people, you don't want to think of your people as like machines or cogs in a system, but that function of your business is operating in a consistent way, right? And if you think about like a manufacturing or a production line, manufacturing and production lines work because they do things the same way every time, right? If you have to create a custom something, you can't create a manufacturing line. You can only do it if it's like bam, 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 bam. It's like stamping out the same thing. And that's where scale comes from. That's where scale comes from. Customization doesn't scale. Standard scales, custom fails. We say that in 8-Figure Entrepreneur. Standard scales, custom fails. It doesn't fail, it just fails to scale. Customization can actually be quite profitable. It's just going to always be lower volume. It's a different game. It's saying, I only want to serve a small number of people in a very highly customized way, but it's going to make it dependent on you. It's not going to be scalable. The more customized it is, the less scalable the thing is. The magic, okay, the ideal situation is that you have both. You have above average profit processes and you have above average people. We want both. One feels a bit more controllable than the other. You can control pretty well the culture of your company based on who you hire and who you fire and all that. But a lot of it you just don't know until you really get to know a person. And you just don't know until they get in there and you see how they perform. And, the other thing about people is they can be an amazing performer one day and then the very next day not be a very great performer, right? So we kind of level that out with great people and great processes. But I would say this event specifically, and this function of the business is way more about process than people realize. They think it's about only people. And actually, it's a lot more controllable, influenceable, and that hopefully is encouraging to you that your sales, the consistency of your revenue won't be a flip of the coin every month. Every year, it won't be like, I hope we have a great year. Like, I hope something awesome happens. I mean, we have hope, right? We have faith. We pray a lot, but we also create a lot of systems and we also play the odds and we do everything we can to tip things in our favor. So the overall message of this entire event, if you want to create predictable revenue, you need to build systematic processes.